Good morning, good afternoon, good day to everybody. We are delighted to open this annual TIEMS conference. TIEMS is the International Emergency Management Society, which is an NGO based in Brussels. And we are really happy to organize it on a virtual mode, of course, to gather a large number of specialists and high-ranked persons to deal on crisis management and resiliency. Of course, we have to thank the French chapter, which is the HFRN team of Christian Somad, which is supporting the conference, and also the team of Kyle King, which is capacity building based in USA and also in Berlin. It's a very international conference, and all these people have been striving with the advisory board of the conference to select the papers. So a great thanks to everybody who work hardly to prepare this conference. Of course, thank you to all of you, you attendees who are joining us at each moment. And we are very happy to announce that we have 250 registered persons with a variable attendance during the days, because we are starting now a very exciting week dealing with crisis management on all aspects of public policies and all the important things who are now building the crisis management and the safety of critical infrastructures. So let me introduce our honorable speaker, opening speaker, which is Mr. Jean-Marie Le Guen. Mr. Jean-Marie Le Guen is medical doctor and physician specialist in health economics. Mr. Le Guen had a long political career before taking the presidency in July 2020 of the French High Committee for National Resilience after leaving his functions of Councillor of City of Paris. Elected Councillor of Paris City Hall since 1989, he was appointed Deputy Mayor of Paris in charge of public health and relationships with Paris hospitals in 2008, where he shared the supervisory board member of the French Parliament from 1997. He has been the reporter for several bills, notably the Evin law, which is a counter tobacco and alcohol law in France. Former president of the National Health Insurance Fund, 1997 to 2002, then member of the High Council for Future Health Insurance until 2012. He was in charge for the Socialist Group of Health and Health Insurance Issues. In 2011, he published a book titled Save Our Health Before It's Too Late. On April 2014, he was appointed Secretary of State, which is a kind of deputy minister in France, to the Prime Minister, in charge of relationships with French Parliament, and he played an important role in the implementation of government policy by contributing to the agenda of the French Parliament and monitoring the implementation of the voted laws. On December 2016, he was appointed Secretary of State to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Development, in charge of the development and the Francophonie. So, Mr. Le Guen, thank you very much for opening our conference, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jean-Paul. Thank you very much for this very complete biography. I'm very impressed by all what you can know about me. So I have the volunteer to know more about you. Thank you, dear friends. I am pleased to welcome all participants to the TIEMS 2021 annual conference. As president of the French High Committee for National Resilience, which is the only representative in France for the International Emergency Management Society. Again, we hoped and tried to make this event happen physically in Paris, where I wish I had welcomed you. But again, we had rather have this meeting online to enable most of TIEMS members to attend, as the COVID-19 crisis is not yet behind us. As some you may know, the French High Committee for National Resilience is a non-profit organization which helps to improve the security, safety, and resilience of public and private organizations regarding major risks and threats. It contributes to the protection of population and the objective of national resilience. It's a place for exchange between the government, parliamentary assemblies, local authorities, companies, and experts on issues relating to security, safety, and organizational and structural resilience. We give them opportunities to meet and learn, and also tools such as online platform and alert reports to monitor risk and threats. So we are very happy and honored to provide during this week a worldwide opportunity for exchange of knowledge and best practice on subjects that matters. The program, as you know, is very complete and varied, and I have no doubt it will be helpful for our preparedness and resilience. The emergency management community face an intense and difficult present with the long-term COVID-19 crisis and has to prepare itself and the people for the challenge and opportunities the future holds. Major issues such as health, climate, and energy have real potential to reshape the way first responders operate and interact. Emergency management will require to build on or enhance new approach, tool, and capabilities to meet this challenge. Indeed, disaster and emergency management planning must integrate projections for more frequent and intense weather change and phenomena. Significant long-term social benefits and cost saving can be made with strategic investment in disaster prevention, such as climate resilience infrastructures. Furthermore, it is necessary to include citizen preparedness and make them part of a genuine culture of resilience. Public safety and security, public health, and all disaster management organization first responders need to work collaboratively and still be more resilient tomorrow than today by monitoring, anticipating, responding, and learning. We hope really this conference will help you think about the importance of looking into deep dependencies when you think about exceptional risk management and provide you a clear insight on the various subjects. Before leaving the floor to my friend Christian Somad, I would like to give a special thanks to President Harald Dreger for his confidence and his constantly renewed commitment to the International Emergency Management Society members and chapter. I wish you all a nice conference week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen, giving this talk, which is very fruitful, friendly, and also with a large strategical view on what is important to build more resilient countries. Of course, we need it, and the recent crisis, of course, demonstrated that there is some gray zones and the need to improve all the time. Preparedness, citizen instruction, knowledge of the risk, and so on. Thank you so much, Mr. President Le Guen, having given us this talk. So let me now introduce the next speaker, which is Christian Somade. Christian Somade is the general delegate of the association, which is an NGO in France, Resilience France. It's also called the French High Committee for National and National Resilience, formerly with another wording on civil defense. And after a career in defense and security industry, he is also a non-executive chairman of the ERIS group. Christian Somade has been leading the activities of Resilience France for more than 25 years. He organized more than 500 breakfasts, my gosh, which are debates in the Senate, the French Senate, and webinars with 100 of conferences on the subject of global security. Resilience France is an NGO under the French law of non-profit bodies, which is the very old law of 1901. It's a civil society actor participating on the reflection on organizational and structural resilience. Its activities aims to be a platform for exchange between the state, the assemblies, the local authorities, the companies and the experts on the questions aiming on the national security and the resilience of the population, the companies, and in fine, the nation in front of the risk and major threats. Between 2007 and 2020, he also created and led national sessions training and exercises for resiliency, which was at this time a subsidiary of Resilience France and now a subsidiary of the Everywhere Group in risk analysis, crisis management, and bushfire continuity, and business continuity. He has participated in numerous security research projects by European Commission, FP7, H2020, ANR, which is a French National Research Agency, and development of digital tools, handbooks, GIS, simulation. During this time, he also produced dashboards to have a review on risks. He has also to his credit, numerous presentations in international and national conferences, as well on the TV shows. Christian Somade has a degree, is detailing a degree in public law, postgraduate diploma in defense, and a master's degrees in marketing and communication. He's also former auditor of the French Ministry Interior Scientific Institute and a representative for France of TIEMS. He is the boss of the French chapter of TIEMS. He's the author of 2 books on major risks and population protections in 86 and 96. He's a member of CPS, a founding member of the Circle K2, which are very important associated body, and he is also reserve colonel of the Gendarmerie Nationale, which is our police military forces. And he gave lectures at Georgetown University and the national courses for master officers of gendarmerie in France. Christian Somade has great knowledge of the organization, the national security in France, and he has directed several studies and training, also material given to the SGDSN, which is a body related to the Prime Minister to tackle risk and threats. He also has a rich experience in the direction of crisis management exercises. He led this kind of exercise also on behalf of the National Institute of Justice. Also numerous courses and crisis management exercises, both for the state, simulating pressure for decision makers, and also at the state level for 7 years. He also been a participant, an observer in many national and international exercises in USA, in Singapore, and UK. And prior to that, he was for 3 years Group Director of Security and Defense Market Development for CEGELEC, a solution and service company, a large solution and service company in France, with a peculiar focus on the security of the airport and port and critical infrastructures. He also spent 3 years in Washington, D.C. to develop and promote the French industry against CBRNE risks and threats on the homeland American security market on behalf of Giant Industries, another French company in the sector. And eventually, prior to that, Christian spent 20 years in the CBRNE defense industry at SP Defense, then Giant Industries, as I said, and as marketing director for CBRNE and director for civil defense activity by another group subsidiary of SPI Batignolles. So, Christian, what a long work, what a tough life. And thank you opening on behalf of French chapter this conference, this annual TIEMS conference.
Thank you very much, Jean-Paul. It's too long. I think I apologize for all our friends. I think my view is too long. It's maybe because I have to start to have too much white hair. So it's a great pleasure and a great honor to introduce this conference. And I have prepared some slides that I would like to share with you to speak about two things. In the 15-20 minutes that I will try to I'm going to share the screen right now. First thing, I think it's good to remind what is resilience and how we speak about resilience right now, because it's a buzzword that it was very used by whole type of media, but in the field of emergency management, what is the meaning of that? And I think that we have many definitions of resilience at the national level. First, you can read here the definition of the France and the one of Europe, but you have many others in USA, Israel, Singapore, just to take few of them. You have different kind of definition of resilience, but it's all the same. It's a collective resilience, and we will come back on this definition. But mainly, what is it? If you take the definition of Europe, resilience is the ability of a person, household, community, country, or region to resist, adapt, and recover quickly. Quickly is important from stresses and shocks such as violence, conflict, drought, or other natural disaster, without compromising its long-term development. Meaning that you have this meaning of long-term developments to be able to adapt and to recover. But in order to be able to adapt and recover, you have to be able to prevent and to reduce the risk, and that is important. It's why I think resilience is before, during, and after an event. And you will see differences in the different definition. In France, we are going to speak about the return to normal functioning, at least under socially acceptable conditions. But mainly, it's always the same: is to resist and to adapt, and not compromising the development, the long-term development. So that's the first definition. But if you look more in detail on the fields of resilience, you will speak about individual resilience. The resilience is the individual people, but also the immediate family. And as first responders, you know absolutely that if the responders is aware about his family, is not operational. He's going to take care about his family first. And that has been seen in many events, such as Katrina or others. And so individual resilience start by the individual, but it starts also by the immediate family. The collective resilience is much larger. Of course, it's all the organization that a single people belongs to. Could be affiliation, the company, the city where you live, the county, the department, the region, the state, the continent, whatever. But that is collective resilience versus individual resilience. The forms of resilience are really the heart of the systems. When you speak about business continuity, preparedness, and so on, we speak about organizational resilience, meaning the organizational resilience is all the techniques and the process that you need to apply to be better prepared to face an event. And that is really very, very clear, and that really the art of the emergency management, I would say, work. But there is another resilience, which is a structural one. And the structural one is different. It's more anticipation and forecasting of the bad scenarios, sometimes with cascading and sometimes systemic effects. And the concept of structural resilience is to reduce vulnerability and to adapt dynamically to the change. And we face in this decade a lot of change, not only the climatic one, but the technological one, the societal one. And of course, the organizational resilience cannot be alone without a leg in the structural resilience to understand how the society is moving and what are the dynamic and what to plan for, and that is important. And that altogether bring the what I call the resilience plan. It's a more global than probably we used to do before, but we need to adapt to that. But of course, you have other many mention of technical words, resilience, adapt in the psychological and the psychic resilience, the resilience of materials, the ecological resilience, the infrastructure, the IT, the supply chain, the urban, the food, and other. You have many resilience. It's what I call the sectoral resilience, and those resilience are known and are already, I would say, work on by the specialists in the different sectors. But it's important to have this view. In order to do resilience, you need to have a lot of values around resilience. And I'm not going to name all, but you can see that here they are at the same time technical and human, and they are positive and objective, because all those values are necessary in order to get the objective of the UN, which is a disaster human impact reduction, the disaster cost reduction, and in fact bring something to the reduction of disasters, the reduction of the stress to the population and to the organization, and it's also a kind of insurance regarding the progress faced to the complexity of our world. So the benefit cost is high. I don't know, and I launch the issue. We don't have really a view of how much cost a resilience policy, probably because we never did it at a large scale. Is it 1%, 2% of GDP? No, don't know. What we know is that usually the cost of structural and organizational resilience go from very few percent to 30% of operating or investments. It's very depending regarding sectors, contexts, and so on. But we have to think that resilience is an investment, and it must be amortized over the long term and benefit from special financing. And just to give you the prevention only, that we know that 7 times that the UN number, or sometimes even more, and I think on the COVID it would be more if we had planned before. It costs much less to invest $1 before than 7 after. And if we apply to the resilience as a whole, is probably a better payback, That was the first part of my presentation. The second one will be maybe faster, is a crisis management vision for the next decade. And it's very hard to say what will be the future, because when you see a couple of these words, and you can read it, or you read it after maybe my presentation. Many people make a lot of mistakes about what it is. Prediction foresight, I would say, and so we have to be very have a very humility of foresight. So what we can say about the emergency management, that now in this decade, real time is everywhere, in the alert, in the management, in the information, and you don't have any more right to not to know about, not to know what's going on. And that is a new challenge, because we have to be ready 24/7 in real time, and it's an impact on the organization. And it's a kind of not only the permanent crisis, because it's always happening something, but it's an imminent one, meaning that you have to be ready all the time. The second part is the complexity. Complexity is everywhere, and we have IT everywhere. You have more processes, sometimes less competency. We don't have a lot of degraded modes because we are all using the same IT systems, and we cannot do without. Disruption and loss of value is higher, and we have an high cost for malfunctionings and repairs. So really, it's a complexity in the decision making, and the complexity of the world is really very, very, very large today. The communication is also everywhere. We have the fragmented social networks, fragmented societies, media competition, and we need to be very careful about what we call the fake news, and especially with the feature with the deepfakes capabilities. And we have to be very, very cautious as an emergency manager regarding that, because we can face hybrid threats, meaning that we can mix natural disaster with people who wants to bring more disorders in the society, and using this kind of event to be bad, really. So we have to take care about the need for immediate information, right information. We cannot wait. Also, it's question of time. So regarding emergency management, nothing really new. I mean, we know all this job, how a crisis or an emergency manager know how to work on. I think we have two main organizational models in the world: hierarchical, collaborative. Couple of new models are appearing, but not too much. So it's really a issue of be prepared and have people with the right institutions to be able to first responders and to work on in difficult situations. We will probably see in the future the concept of resilience officers in organizations who will coordinate structural and organizational resilience measures, which is not the case yet, but that will become a kind of super security, safety, risk ecological transition managers. And I think it's something that probably we will see in the future. Just a word, because it's always very difficult to speak about the black swan and things that not happening and which are very difficult to approach. So I like this this view of Adrian Borden. I let you read it, but I think it's very important to understand that it's very difficult for most of the people, including the population, to project in a difficult environment. And they don't like that, they don't want to. So preparedness is always a challenge. And that is something that we have to recall all the time. So when we speak about the big black swan that we can have, it's kind of scenarios which our level of preparation is too low or non-existent, and which would require a kind of a special out of the box planning and thinking. Those events are very low probability but extreme impact. They are changing from country to country, so I'm not going to make, but we speak by numbers: very large populations, very high damage cost, economic cost often 100 billion, and recovery times over 1 year. US got a couple of them, Japan got a couple of them, and COVID is a little bit everywhere by these kind of numbers in many countries. What we are looking for critical infrastructure with an impact on those critical infrastructure. Black swan can occur in nuclear, chemical, biological, in energy, sanitary, communication, transport, all the big sectors, all critical infrastructure sector are concerned of one aspect. And it's very important because the image of the country and the continent exposed to black swan is huge, of course, for the population itself, but for the attractiveness of the international image. So the economic, the media, the value, everything is very important regarding how a country is able to react to a black swan. The basic problem for all those extreme scenarios is that often in many countries, we have a major under preparation about the psychological aspect. This can happen. No, this cannot happen. And you have in many countries no plan for dealing with something which is unthinkable. And unfortunately, sometimes it happens. And when you see that, you see that, of course, crisis management structures are undersized for this very large scale event most of the time, and we don't have the good planning. We count on the military, but the military is not there. It's too slow, and they are doing other things. It's very hard to put military on. It's possible, but it takes time. The internal security forces are always overwhelmed in intensity or duration. The communications are often lost, and there are very few systems of lost resources. The evacuation in many countries are not unplanned, unexercised, and I would say that the desire to reassure when you don't know, it's bring to government a big breach in their confidence from the population sometimes. Also, it's harder for many countries to invest in preparation for international aid. Some countries are doing so, and but many very developed countries, and especially in EU, they are not working too much on that. And I think it's very important because every kind of country may have need of international support. So in order to do the success of resilience and crisis management, you need a will, you need money, you need confidence, of course, and you need so to inform your population and to be very, very open on that. And it's not always the case. Speaking about major hazard, major risk to the population is not productive for many politicians. And that's a worry because it's when it happens, it's too late. So I think confidence and opening is working together. Of course, we need technology, but we must be able to do without technology, and we need to be in a spirit of sharing most of the information and most of the experiences that everybody is getting around those issues. So it's really a concept which is working before, during, and after, and it must be seen as a partnership between all authorities, state, local, national, continental, and also with the businesses, because businesses are key in emergency crisis management today, as well as association, and we need to have a continuous and unified doctrine without forgetting regional and international models. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope that this conference, and I would like to thank you for listening to me, and I wish you very good work today and all the week, and I will be attending as far as I can all this very interesting presentation that you will all give to us. So thank you very much, and have a good day, and you got the floor, Jean-Paul.
Thank you so much, Christian. It's very unusual in conferences. We have some time free. We are not late at all, so the coffee break will be a little bit longer. But over that, we are reaching now the major point of the opening session. I have to give the floor to Harald Dreger. Harald Dreger is, of course, the chairman of TIEMS, the International Emergency Management Society. He is one of the founding members of this NGO based in Brussels, and he is president since 2002. Detaining a master degree of control engineering from Norwegian Technical University, then another master degree in industrial engineering from Purdue University, USA. Harald Dreger began to be a project manager in several companies. Then he worked for Det Norsk Veritas for some years, inspecting the ships, if I well remember, Harald. And also after that, he built his own consultancy company. Harald is a very proactive person, and in parallel, in 1994, he was a founding member of TIEMS, as I said, then quite quickly president in 2002. And of course, he developed TIEMS on a large scale all over the world, building chapters from Asia, Australia to America. And now TIEMS is a very large scientific society with a large number of correspondents all over the world. And the aim and the main topic of this NGO is, of course, as everybody knows here, is resiliency and crisis management. Also, Harald and TIEMS took part to a very large number of research and development European projects, implying that TIEMS is now identified as a key player in these projects. But if TIEMS is identified, it's by you, all the experts from the TIEMS network, and all these persons, you are building the reputation of TIEMS. And I would like to finish in saying that Harald also was very active, proactive, and energetic person to promote TQC, which is a reference, a framework of certification of the instruction in crisis management. So Harald, it's also for me an opportunity to thank you for all you did for TIEMS. I've been near you for 10 years, and I saw all the energy you displayed to this NGO and to build TIEMS as it is today. So thank you, Mr. Dreger. The floor is yours for the opening speech.
Thank you, Jean-Paul, for the good words. What I like to do today is to give you what is TIEMS today and what are the activities we are engaged in today and what do we think about the future. We know all that the world is at risk, and it's increasing in terms of frequency and consequences. And the 2 last years, we have been dealing with pandemics, and it seems this is not over. We have to live with it for a quite long time. And we know that climate change is also adding to this. So we are facing quite more risks in the future. So that's the background. I will not deal with the risks today, but I will address you on what we are in TIEMS and how we deal with these things, what we have built up, and how we are handling and our role in this dealing with risk. I will start with what I call TIEMS status, and just starting with our international look at this. We had our first annual conference in 1994. We started out in Fort Lauderdale in USA. The year before, a group of people, experts in emergency management, we met during another conference in US, and we founded TIEMS, actually at a hotel room at Marriott in Washington, DC. That was the background. And as you can see of this list, we have traveled the world, and in the first years, we had the annual conference was our main focus, and we had it alternatively in America and Europe, and we moved around. I took over as president in 2002, and I thought we are an international organization, so we also have to go to other places than America and USA, America and Europe. And then we started traveling Australia, we went to Asia, and today we have been in Paris 2 times. Unfortunately, we have to be virtually, but I had hoped we could meet in Paris. That was not possible. But next year we will be in United States, and hopefully that is a time where we can get together again. And finally, we are also moving to 2 continents we haven't actually been to with our annual conference. South Africa is on the term in 2023, India in 2024, and finally we also goes to Latin America and Caribbean with planning for Costa Rica in 2025. This has been a fantastic journey, and I have been to all of these conferences and met many of you. So this has been a good journey. The way we operate is that, as Jean-Paul told you, we are based as an independent international NGO in Brussels, in Belgium. But in order to reach out, and we say think globally and act locally, we have established chapters, and here you see the chapters we have. Australia is red because we are not formalized. I'm communicating with a group in Australia that is in the process of establishing formally the chapter. And I see from the participants today, you are from many countries around the world. And if your country is not on this list, please consider, would you like to be part of this emergency management family? Contact me or someone else in the organization, and we can start talking about making up a chapter. A chapter takes care of local things, and then it can communicate with the other chapters, and this is a big family around the world. We have an organization, as you see here, and the top of this is the annual general meeting, which takes place tomorrow. The annual general meeting is only for members. And so I will encourage all of you to become members. But the other part of the organization is we have a board, we have an advisory board, we have a secretariat in Brussels, and we have chapters and members. But we have something more. All the chapters, boards around the world, with also the advisory board and TIEMS board of directors, form what we call TIEMS International Group of Experts. And this well, first, before I go to that, I just show you a picture of the board. And as you can see at the top, we have 11 members from 9 countries. So we are also in the board very international. So, and we have an election tomorrow. So there will also be, we have a vacancy in Latin America and Caribbean, which we hope to fill tomorrow. We have the advisory board, because when we do have something we like to perform, for example, we have an editor. We appoint an officer with that responsibility. And when we have other areas we like to cover, we appoint an officer. So that is also up to all of you. If you think, okay, I like to do something for TIEMS, I like to be part of this family, just contact us and tell us what you could contribute with, and then maybe be appointed an officer. But as I mentioned, we had the international group of experts, which comprise all board members, etc. This is a very interesting group because today, with the chapters we have, we are 104 members from 22 countries. And they have different background, different experience, and this is a unique reference group in TIEMS. So whenever you enter into TIEMS with a duty in some kind, you will be part of this international group of experts. We have membership, and you are all welcome to be members. And when we look at it, I have listed here the type of members we have. We have standard members, and it's not expensive to be a member. But we also have different membership fees for those who are able to pay from industrialized countries, and a lower fee for those who comes from what we call transitional economies. So everybody could afford to be a member of TIEMS. Those also, Jean-Paul this morning, he mentioned our certification, and those who have been certified, I will come back to that later in my presentation, they are professional certified members. We have student members, we have institutional members, and for institutional members, might be a company, might be an organization. That institutional membership comprise 5 members when you pay an institutional member fee, and they can vote with 5 members at the annual general assembly. We also, because we know that the chapters, they can recruit their own members, and they are responsible for what cost it will be to be a local chapter member. And we also have 2 honorary members, 2 people that have done great work for TIEMS in the past. Altogether, we are around 3,000 members, all these all together. And we form a big family around the world. So what does it mean to become a member? What is their benefits for being a member in TIEMS? This has been on my agenda all the time since we started TIEMS in 1993. And I meet this question: what benefits is it to become a member? Well, as I have listed here, we have listed that we are a group of different people, different experts with different background and with different experience. And through this family, you can learn, you can serve, as I said, and you can network. Learn from a multidisciplinary, multinational TIEMS community through special TIEMS programs. You can serve, and in this respect, TIEMS participate in quite a few research projects. I will come back to that. And one benefit which might be very interesting for all of you is to be a member of TIEMS team in the research project we participate in. This, since everybody working for TIEMS in the capacity of board officers, it's a voluntary work. No one is paid for what we do. But when we have got a project paid, there will be a good fee for participating in the conference, in the project. I will come back to list the project a little bit later. And networking. Today, networking is the important thing, communicating, and I think we are reaching quite well out all over the world. As I meant, now I have been through the status of what is TIEMS today and what activities do we do. There is one thing, since we are a very different people from all over the world, there are different cultures. And what we have taken very seriously is that we focus on cultural differences to be understood and included in the society's events, education and research programs. And we have 4 main activities. What I have learned by working with teams over all these years, 28 now, I see that we have a lot to learn from each other. The different areas, Asia, Africa, America, Europe, the focus might be different, and we can everybody have something to learn from other ones. But what are we? We have today 4 activities, main activities. International conferences and workshop, where this is one, and I told you about how we have been moving around the world. In addition to these annual conferences, also the chapters do their own workshop or annual conferences. So there are quite many conferences which goes under the name of TIEMS around the world every year. Last year, we started with webinars. I will come back to a little bit more explanation on that. And we have research and development projects, and we have this international certification. Let me start with the webinar. And this was actually, last year, Kyle King approached me after the annual conference, and he had been running webinars in order. His focus was that he's an American, he works for NATO, lives in Ukraine and worked with peacekeeping in Ukraine. He tried to, and his focus was that Americans doesn't know much about Europe and the different emergency management system in Europe. And that was his focus. And he asked if we could work together in promoting the different models of emergency management around the world. And we started out in February this year, and it's been a fantastic journey. The participation, as you see the numbers, there have been more than 700 attendees from 72 countries. And here you see what we have covered in these conferences. We try to keep it to 1 hour, and we try to keep a time where we can reach mostly out. This is, of course, always a challenge in an international organization by all the time zones. And but we have covered many countries up to now. And the last one in 2021, I think it's 16th of September, and it's about CDRI, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. This is an organization which we have also given different offers to research, doing research for them. I will come back to that. I didn't mention maybe that Kyle King is from the company Capacity Building International. And we have also been doing some of our webinars in cooperation with Manchester University. We have decided that we will continue with this. So if you say, okay, I like to present my country's emergency management model, or I have other ideas or systems I like to present, please contact either Kyle and myself, and we can put you on the program for next year. This has been a very good spreading out the news about TIEMS and also learning to each other what other countries do on the emergency management. Research project, as I mentioned, we have been, as you see here, involved in 9 research projects. This is now becoming a quite important part of what we do in TIEMS. And this actually also gave the largest economic financial contribution to TIEMS. We started out back in 2006 with a project called NARTUS. This project and myself actually was responsible for establishing. This was about public communication in emergency management. And the result of this project was the establishment of Public Safety Communication Europe, which goes on the number PSCE. That is now a working organization and very active, so very proud of what we achieved in the NARTUS project. It was 3 years, started 2006, ended in 2009. ASSET started in 2013 to 16, and this was under EU's 7th framework program. The first one was the 6th framework program funded by EU. ASSET was very interesting. This was about pandemics and communication in pandemics. The background was actually the swine flu, where WHO declared this could be a pandemic. That happened not to be a pandemic, but more a mild influenza. And that started people to think, why did they declare this swine flu as a pandemic? Was it so the pharmaceutical companies could sell more? The trust in the authorities fell to a low level. And we addressed in this project, how can we restore the confidence in public's confidence in authorities? And as we know, have been through a pandemic for 2 years, you all see that the communication from authorities is probably the most important thing. And this varies. I live in Oslo and in Scandinavia, Nordic countries. There is a high trust in the authorities. And we have now achieved a quite high level of vaccination. I think we are close to 95%, but still, even in Norway, there are hesitancy to the vaccination. We had some 5 deaths of some of the vaccinations. So people are skeptical. So how do you build confidence? That was the main aim. Later on, we went into the Heracles project. This was about cultural heritage. So you see quite difference in the way where emergency management are. And Heracles actually concentrated on with the climate change, the different cultural heritage, which are important for all of us. We are defined by our background, and the future is actually giving us the cultural heritage we have is also pointing out the future for us. And we did look at how could we protect the different cultural heritage better. And we had different sites where we tested out a platform we developed. There was 2 in Crete and 1 in Italy. Very interesting project with very good results. Then we were invited into doing a research project for DG ECHO, the EU. This was Hub on Wildfire Expertise. This was only a 1-year project where we looked at how can we collect all the different expertise on wildfires in Europe in a hub that the different countries, different experts can log into, find answers, find models, find simulation things which can be used during a wildfire. This was to be a demonstration of what could be done and be an example for other risks than wildfire. We all these 4 projects, we were paid for doing those, and we set up a team. Whenever we get an research project, we go out to our members, the international members who are paying members, and ask them if they will apply for participating in a project, if they have the expertise. And then based on that, we collect the team, and that team is then performing the research. But we also do voluntary work, and we were asked by the World Bank to do a study on civil protection worldwide. We contributed with Australia, looking into Australia, deep dive study of Australia, and also Ukraine and China. Those are the 3 countries we contributed with. Unfortunately, this study of the World Bank was never published for different reasons, more political reasons, but I think there was a very many good things found in this. And actually the webinars we are doing together with Capacity Building International and Kyle King is actually taking some of the things we learned in this study and actually telling about that in the webinars. Then this was voluntary, and I have been since early in 2006 with thinking of what should teams do and promote our own, and international certification, because we feel that certification is very important. And I will later in this program on Thursday afternoon, we have actually a session on it. So I won't go much into it. I will mention it a little bit later. This has been developed by TIEMS since 2006 and was launched in the market in 2020. This can be further developed, and I will also mention that later. Then last year, we got involved in Impetus. Impetus is a 2.5-year also EU project, this time in the Horizon 2020 program. And Impetus is about smart cities and how we can make smart cities resilient. The project have 2 sites where we demonstrate the platform, which is going to be developed with different tools that can be linked to this platform. And we did a test in Oslo 2 weeks ago, and now last week they did a test in Padova in Italy of this platform. And I was present in Oslo, and I have had the feedback that Padova was an excellent demonstration of this work. Now we have just been involved in 2 new projects. Both of them are on wildfires. One is FireLog, and the other one is FireRes. FireLog started up. We had a kickoff meeting in Berlin, actually earlier in November. The project started 1st of November, and FireRes is starting started 1st of December. These are 4 years projects. As you see, all these projects have different things on focus in emergency management. And I like to say that emergency management is everything we do every day. And if you like to be part and actually involved in TIEMS research project, become a member. This is a great benefit for members. Then a little bit about TIEMS education, training and certification. You see the 2 emblems we have developed, TIEMS education initiative. One is TQC and the other one is TQAC. The background for this was with an increasing number of disasters worldwide, resulting in more international collaboration and support to disaster-stricken areas. The need for more education and training in emergency and disaster management seems evident. TIEMS believes that it is important to raise the awareness of competences needed in emergency and disaster management, and to support those participating in these activities and operation in acquiring those competences. That was the background. And we actually started out with a survey, and we got a response from 72 experts from 33 countries. I think that was quite good. You see mentioned the countries down here. And I will just read something. The red one I will read. We got a long list, and actually the whole survey can be accessed on TIEMS website. And we got really good advices from this survey. And that was also before we started the development, and we listened very well to those advices. I will read those with red. And although there are several higher qualifications in emergency management, they mainly focus on specific countries' requirements rather than an international focus. A globally recognized certification will help professionals of varied backgrounds in disaster emergency management have a better understanding of each other's competencies. And like credentialing, a certification obtained via a rigorous process from an organization with validated international standing or renowned is a positive indicator of a person's knowledge base and capabilities. And this has led to, as I said, two types of certification. One is the TQC, stands for TIEMS Qualification Certification, is a certification for individual emergency management with a nationally recognized professional certification, or other individuals with documented competence and experience, practical or academic, in international emergency and disaster management. TQAC stands for TIEMS Qualification Associate Certification, and that is a certification for individuals with proper education in emergency management, but who are lacking the practical experience as required for TQC. Both TQC and TQAC only certify knowledge and competences about international standards, requirements, and best practices necessary to create, and this is important, an international common understanding among those working with emergency and disaster management internationally. I will address more details on this in our certification debate on Thursday, but I can mention already now that 8 people are certified, and we have 5 people in the pipeline from actually 8 countries altogether. And it's everything goes on the internet, so people can actually be certified from where they are. We are proctoring, so we have a cooperation with a company that is monitoring the candidate when he or she does his exam. It goes through an application, compliance, see that it's compliant, examination and certification. And here it's a picture of the certificates. So what does the future give? That is very important. And we feel today that TIEMS is established and recognized worldwide as an important and serious actor in emergency management and disaster response. We are taken seriously, and we have been serious, and we have concentrated on delivering real things to add and contribute to more resilience worldwide. So what do we focus on for the future? Well, we like to do more international conferences and workshops worldwide, because this is a communication platform, very important communication platform, and that needs to continue. And I do believe we have done it virtually now from France 2 years. And I think we will never return back to a fully physical meeting. There will probably be a hybrid meetings in the future. This good thing with this is actually that more people can attend. And with 250 persons who has registered for our conference during this week, shows that we reach further out than people when we meet physically. And actually the costs also, there is no cost for those who follow. To meet is also important, to see and meet people. And when I was in Berlin in the kickoff meeting with Firelog 2 weeks ago, it was actually very good to see people, talk to people, go socially out, eating dinner, etc. Germany was very strict on mask mandate, so we had to wear masks wherever we were, and we had to show our corona passports that we were vaccinated. So you can do it, but also do it as hybrid event. We will do more webinars because that's been a very good thing, reaching out. And as I said earlier, please contact either Kyle King or myself and say, I like to present my country's model, or I have an idea which I like to present. And as I told you, we like more chapters to be partners in our worldwide network. So please think, do you have connection? Do you have time? And do you like to start a chapter in your country or in your region? So, and also remember, these are voluntary, but teams have also built up a little bit better economy over the years. So we also prepare to help with some financing if that's necessary. And as I told you, teams members, they participate in all our research projects. And what we are now focusing on is also getting all the chapters more involved in our research and development activities. And we also, so far, all our chapters that have been financed is financed by the European Union. And we know that there are many other resources worldwide where we also can find funding for doing research. And actually we have participated, we haven't won any contracts yet with the CDRI, which I mentioned, but we are still waiting for the feedback for one proposal we gave. And the one that is financing this is USAID. So we are reaching out. More members. So please, if you find what I've told you today, that this is something for you, I think membership is affordable by everyone because we have different fees for different economies. And you can also be a member in the chapter. And then the chapter decides, and most of our chapters does not require any membership at all. So please look at that possibility. But we are not going to do everything alone, and we like to have educational partners. We are concentrating on education and training. So we have someone, you can see it on the website, but we like more where institutions that have training programs in emergency management that they can share with us and be part of our network. And coming to the certification, we have now launched it. We see it works. We have already quite a lot of ideas we like to take further. And if one thing we like to focus on is how can this be developed and applied in different countries, because most countries have their own certification, local certification, but can this be added as an international certification in addition to the local one? That's what we like talk with different countries on. And another thing, it's very difficult when we develop a certification, because what should we ask? What kind of competence do we require from our candidates? And we have at present focused on 4 things they will be tested on in our exam. We like to extend that, and I will come back to more of that in our panel on Thursday. For example, for different groups, wildfire, what would they like to focus on? The concept we have developed in TQC and TQAC is usable for different competences and different areas. So that is something we like to look into. And of course, doing more training courses in emergency management and disaster response, that we also look at other opportunities, and of course, other activities. TIEMS is actually those people who are involved and the ideas they have. So if you have ideas of your own, contact us and tell if you have ideas, you like, say, I like to join TIEMS. I like to bring my ideas in and see if you like to use them or develop them further. That is what I like to end with. And as I say, I hope I have convinced many of you that TIEMS is a place where you can further develop your expertise, be part of our network, and also maybe develop a chapter and be very active. And I think it also could be good for your career. With those words, I say thank you for your attention. And we were a little bit early today, but I used the time. So then back to you, Jean-Paul.
Thank you, Harald. Thank you so much. Eventually, I can summarize that all the talks in this opening session was very complementarily, because Mr. Le Guen stressed the preparedness and the education during public policies to have more resilient states. Christian stressed the differences between individual and collective resilience and partnership with the economy behind that. And you, Harald, explained how an NGO is able to do the knowledge circulating, to have a better understanding and to decrease the hampering of resilience by lack of knowledge. So increasing the knowledge of risk is the first factor, the first element of resilience for the communities and for the states also. So thank you very much. Thank you so much to everybody for this opening session. Now the virtual annual conference is open, and we will go on in some minutes at 11:45, if I well read, with the first session on fire disaster prevention. So we have now a coffee break. Enjoy your tea, enjoy your water.